Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back to LEGO Indiana Jones, the original trilogy. Let's continue the story. We are finally into the point where we don't need to go to Barrett College and mess with anything. While the game is still locking up and lagging, that is just a factor of either my computer setup or the terrible PC ports. I would like to know if somebody can comment in the whether they're having similar issues. Here, poor Marion, I think, is in her underwear when she was captured. And Indy's coming to save the day. Or maybe she's not in her underwear. Maybe she was in a dress, I don't know. I think this is another one of these sections that's just made up whole cloth. I think at the end of the day, in the movie, they got captured by the boat, and then the next scene, the Ark gets taken to... Is the Temple Mound the right place? Is that the right term? It gets taken to some special place, apparently, that it has to be open, I think. Or yeah, I don't know where the place is, so I need another box of parts. There's this podcast, and I don't usually talk about podcasts I watch, but it's called the Film Reroll. And what they do, it's probably not completely appropriate for kids, but it's not horribly bad either. I don't think it's full of cussing or anything. But what they do is they play movie stories like they were Dungeons and Dragons campaigns using a complicated set of rules and dice rolls. And they played this movie, and because the dice rolls come into effect what occurs, the movie doesn't occur the way that you would think it would happen. Also, because the people playing are kind of silly, it doesn't happen the way you would think it would happen. So what they eventually did, and I guess this is a spoiler for their podcast episode, which it may have been 2 or 3 episodes, is they eventually accidentally opened the Ark of the Covenant in Cairo and blew up the entire city of Cairo, if not the world. So where are you? Where are you, Indy? I need you. He's way over here, stuck in the water. Which was pretty funny, because they were trying to do it better than the movie and did it much worse. But I suppose that's as much fiction as this is. And see, this is a weird level to add to the game, because at the end of the day, they're just gonna go from being caught to being caught again. And so your actual actions don't matter. Alright. Ready and pull. And see, I thought these guys weren't gonna see me. I thought this was a sneak mission. No, it's not until like the Lord of the Rings that they even try in LEGO games to have a sneak section, and even when they try it in Lord of the Rings, it doesn't really work. You can see a lot of things here could, in a modern Lego game, would have been made out of Legos. Every single box over here clearly needs to be a Lego item instead of just standard pre-bought 3D assets. This is probably one of the best examples, maybe even better than the Star Wars one, of a Lego game that, if they were going to try to remake this and maybe integrate the portal power thing that Lego Dimensions has and just come out with a story box of the Indiana Jones series, it would work rather nicely. Because you don't really have to start from scratch. You can use all of the things you've done before. I don't think I'm supposed to be up there. I think I'm supposed to go this way. And so the boat was docked in a dock. And then, I mean, did this really happen in the movie? Did they escape the boat and make their own way to where the Ark is and then get caught again? That, I don't think was the case at all. I thought it was clearly in the minds of the bad guys to tie them up and have them as a sacrifice to the Ark of the Covenant. I thought that was their plan even at the beginning. See, I don't know how factually accurate it would be that the Nazis would believe in an Ark of the Covenant, though. Hitler was acclaimed Catholic, and their first treaty was with Rome, with the Vatican, Rome. That is an undeniable fact there, even though many people would prefer not be remember that. And it is most certain that the Nazi regime seemed to have some obsession with the occult, but I don't know if those two things mix together. I don't know if in that time frame that the real Hitler in the real world, if Catholics really would believe that the Ark of the Covenant is a findable thing, or was a thing that was anywhere. That's particularly when you consider that Hitler was using a general dislike of Jews, and the Ark of the Covenant is clearly a Jewish symbol much more than a Christian symbol, because anything Christian Old Testament is more Jewish than anything else. I don't know how much of this I have to actually do. Like, I can get up here now. And I think it wants me to spell the number 4. So if I could get her up from under the... just ran over Marion. I guess you don't spell the number 4 as much as you draw the number 4. I guess it's still better than what they did in the Crystal Skull, because as far as my knowledge goes, which is very limited, I don't think the Russians had any real interest in any kind of artifacts or anything like that. So if I could make a 7, that would open this over there. And I don't think I can get a hat, so there's a lot of free play stuff here. And it looks like the bazooka would blow up some more things, and if I had a shovel, there's clearly some things we could do. Let's see. So you have to break it. That doesn't make a lot of sense. So you ready to follow me now, Indy? I suppose at a certain level, you run out of recognizable items. See, this looks like there would be something to this, but they're certainly not cooperating. Like, this feels like that would open that gate, but it doesn't. Seems like a half-finished thing. And this level looks like we're close to being done as it locks up. And we're not going to get through a single level. I don't know how you'd make Lego barbed wire. It's not going to look good any way you try to do it, so I think they probably made the right decision by just animating it. Okay, yeah, and I remember this scene too. So yet another scene that must have happened in some way. So they did escape the submarine and then tried to get the Ark of the Covenant back. It's strange. Very, very strange. So now we're just into this boss fight. I find it strange because you're going back and forth, not accomplishing anything. You would think a more... Well, they kind of did this at the beginning, where you had to have the staff piece and all of that before you could unlock things, or find where the Ark of the Covenant is. But once the Ark of the Covenant came into the movie, it was the main focus of the movie. So it probably came into the movie too early for story writing. I would argue what they should have done, and here I am rewriting Steven Spielberg, which is pretty pompous, but whatever. And Steven Spielberg isn't perfect. I would say they should have gone through a good third of the movie not realizing what they were looking for or what was going on. That is to say, they would have just been investigating the Nazis and following after them. Not knowing what they were doing. And then it would be a pretty big reveal if you were already invested in the movie and halfway through they said, oh yeah, they're looking for the Ark of the Covenant. And that's really not what happens in any of the Indiana Jones movies. The Temple of Doom, you accidentally end up in Africa. They literally accidentally end up in Africa, and they're put on this quest to fight the thuggy cult. Let's get the True Adventure if we can. Okay. From the beginning, in the Last Crusade, you're pretty much told from the beginning in the Last Crusade also that you're going to be finding the Holy Grail. And in each of those aspects, I think you would have done better to allow the mystery to build up. And it's the same in even the Crystal Skull, although the reveal is a little big in the Crystal Skull at the end. The general Crystal Skull they're chasing after, they know about from the beginning, almost. Those are very non-Lego ghosts that we're seeing here, instead of what you would expect. And see, depicting the melting of minifigs and the shrinking and such. All of that. I bet Lego didn't like any of that cutscene, but it had to be in the movie. And then no kissy stuff for a kid's game. Although we did see her kiss him earlier. So that's not true. So Joan's army disguise and Marion in her nightgown. Well, the army disguise now, when I play in free play, tells me, hey, oh man, for a second there I thought it wasn't gonna make that awful sound. It works at the beginning and then it just tries to speed up the sounds. It's kind of surprising. If you tried to speed up sounds that much, it wouldn't crash even a modern computer, but I guess it doesn't. And we get to finish the story, and there's no reason not to finish the story. That was not a lot. Was that even 6 levels? And so the FBI take the Ark away, and then this is the ultimate evidence of how awful Indiana Jones actually is. He is a scientist. He is a self-proclaimed atheist, non-believer. And he, both as an atheist who is a scientist, should believe in facts and actual knowledge. And so instead of screaming at the top of his lungs to everybody, I found the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant is real. I saw actual evidence of the supernatural, at least in some part. I saw magical things happen. I have actual evidence. And sure, that probably would just get him discredited and thrown in jail by the FBI and all of that. He doesn't try to let any of that evidence get written down anywhere or leaked anywhere or known to anyone. He is 100% willing to hide the biggest, literally the biggest discovery as an archaeologist, as an atheist, as a scientist that the world would have ever seen. And he just defaults to patriotism and the idea that the FBI is always right because they're with the U.S. government and the U.S. government is always right, and therefore allows it to be hidden. There are certainly effective ways that this this information should have been released. Ideally, it makes no sense even for the U.S. government. What the U.S. government should have done is said, we found the Ark of the Covenant, and we have it under lock and key, hidden forever, and here is our Indiana Jones archaeologist who found it. He will back up what we're saying and give you all the information. This thing is very dangerous. It melted people's faces. I mean, this is much like the films that they did of Auschwitz and the other concentration camp or war camps. What are they called? Concentration camps in Germany? I think they were. They had to film all that stuff and show it to everybody in gross, disgusting detail to get both the rest of the world to believe the U.S. that these things were actually happening, and the Germans themselves to believe that these things were happening, because it wasn't a well-known open fact in Germany that they were running concentration camps. It was known that they were putting camps, and they were calling them war camps, but it wasn't a well-known fact that they were torturing and killing and starving people to death. And clearly the right move, what would have happened if the Ark of the Covenant was found and it was magical, even if it wasn't magical, it doesn't really even matter, is there would be film of it. Indiana Jones would be highly encouraged by the U.S. government to say they found it and they have it, because that brings prestige and power. Now, sure, maybe Israel at the time would say, well, it should be in our hands, but that's an easy no. If at any point in Israel's history you could say, no, it's too dangerous to be in Israel, you're always at war with your neighbors, we can't give it back to you. Plus, it wasn't, I think, in this movie even found in Israel or anything like that. So just because Israel likes to think of itself as the spiritual center point doesn't mean it gets all the things. Maybe the Vatican would come in and say, we should have it. And then, again, that's just an easy no. You say, no, we're not going to give it to the Vatican. We're keeping it in America. We've got it. We won. We went through a lot of effort for that. And that would still make a lot of sense. And then it would be kind of cool in the next couple of movies if you had this slightly different fiction. Man, that is big text on those credits. Where in the Temple of Doom, the governments are still upset with the U.S. because they have the Ark of the Covenant. Now, if the Ark of the Covenant didn't have any magical abilities and a country found it, you would clearly want to put it in a museum, because it would bring so much money and prestige. And even if you don't put the original in the museum, it's not that big of a stretch that you would make a copy of it and say, here's a copy, we own it. And a lot of things in museums are just replicas on display, but a lot of things aren't too, so you never know. But the idea of just hiding it away makes no sense. Not when you know the U.S. government at that time, and they were looking for an atomic bomb, and they've literally been handed the religious equivalent of an atomic bomb. So that's the first movie, and the story at the end is written oddly. You will notice as we run around Barrett College, there are more people now, and they are copies of us. But all the complaints I just made aside, that's really complaints of the movie, not complaints of the video game. So as we unlock more characters, we will have more of our own clones walking around Barrett College. Not a big issue. These statues are very low detail, so who knows who they are or who they're supposed to be. Uh, Now, not too many characters will appear, but it will start to get a little cramped. Now that, but it doesn't really matter. It's not like there's anything here. It felt a little empty, honestly. You've got some pictures, and in these pictures might be some like concept art. So we've done the first 6, so we're 1/3 of the game done, and we didn't get any of the full collections of gold chests. But that was to be expected, because when we go back and play free play mode, it'll be a lot easier. I don't really believe, though, that we are in a good position that playing free play mode right now would make any sense. We are at 17.1% done. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.